We'll just go 3 versus 5. Okay. Okay. Oh, we are back. Well, I'm back. I don't know if JP's back. All right, JP's back. Yeah. Cool. Congratulations again to everybody. But let's get on to the main topic of the day. So yesterday, finally, we saw what MJ was alluding to in the Horrors Without Borders stream, and then as the announcement of the return to the Circle Undone. So, moving right into the announcement, we start with the normal FFG jargon about how the upgrade is for the Circle Undone, blah, blah, blah. But we see that this is the first expansion to have 22 tarot cards that can be used to enhance any scenario or campaign in Arkham Horror, which is really cool. I think this is the first product that's affected every other release.
Yeah, this is because, well, you could argue that Instant Conspiracy also affects every other, because it brings the blessed curse tokens that can be used in any campaign if you use the correct player cards or investigators. But
sorry, I did mean non-player cards specifically.
Yeah, but those tarot cards can be included in every campaign if you want to, but we still don't have a lot of information how you do it. So, well, we will see in good time, but now we have some samples of those 22 new cards that can be used in this article.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see the first image, which is the typical card or product fan here, which shows all of the various return to cards. We see some changes made to Before the Black Throne, what is that, Wages of Sin, and Union and Disillusion. As far as the agenda or the act cards here, we see some locations over here, and then we have some new player card previews here. One of which is a tarot card that's spoiled later in the article. But we have an upgrade to Sign Magic, we have an upgrade to Trial by Fire, and an upgrade to Well Connected. So, yeah, interesting choices, I would say. I think those are pretty good cards to upgrade.
Yeah, and actually those, like the new tarot cards, are new tarot cards, so they are not like a higher level of the old ones. They're brand new, so you can have both if you have the slots. And there will be a new card, at least one new card that adds you more tarot slots. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, so moving on from this product fan, I don't really like to kind of like try to zoom in on these and speculate on these. They'll eventually spoil them, and we'll see what they're all about. But it's nice to just see, what some of the options for upgrades are going to be. But so moving on into the actual spoilers themselves, we were first greeted with an encounter card, Senator Nathaniel Rhodes, who is a 1/2/1 enemy who has Aloof. He has an action to parlay, test willpower 2. If you succeed, either take control of one of his clues or flip a doom to its clue side, and if you fail, you flip one of his clues to his side. And you can see that the set symbol is from at the return to at death's doorstep. So,
yeah,
interesting.
So this will be the second scenario in which this guy will appear, and I think because you can flip those dooms on him to clue side and then parlay and get those clue tokens. So there will be some interesting maneuvering to get some doom on this guy and then flip those dooms to clues and get them off of him. So really interesting. And as we remember, we can't actually kill these Silver Twilight guys in the second scenario.
I'm curious to see how he interacts with Joseph Manger too, the other major Silver Twilight personality in that scenario. And then the other card, the player card, that's a little more interesting here in this immediate fan here is the Moon Pendant, which is a 2-cost, 2-experience asset that has the item and charm traits. It takes up an accessory slot. It reads, you have 1 additional tarot slot. So you're essentially trading your accessory slot for a tarot slot. And then it has additional text that says, each non-weakness tarot asset in your hand committed to a skill test gains 2 wild icons, which is great. And then it has the tarot reaction ability that we've seen from the first set of tarot cards, where that if it, when the game begins, if it's in your opening hand, you can put it into play.
Yeah, so it's keeping in the theme of the tarot cards. So if you draw them in your opening hand, you just get them play as a freebie. So it's really interesting now. Build a deck around tarot cards, maybe like juggle tarot cards around depending what you need.
I'd like to see a Safina tarot deck.
Yeah,
there we go.
Safina was one of those investigators that were really circling around these tarot cards because she draws 13 cards at the start, so there's a big chance of drawing some of the tarot cards. Also, the ally, the palm reader, what's
Anna Caslow?
Yeah, Anna Caslow. She also comes into play if you draw her in the opening hand, so and gives you extra tarot slots. So these cards start to combo really well, and now you have can have multiples of the tarot card in the deck, because with the Moon Pendant you can use them as wild resources for wild icons for skill tests. So that's really.
Yeah, and Penguins in chat points out that it's not unique either. So if you comboed it with Relic Hunter and a second copy, you could have +4. So you could turn your tarot cards into some like what's that skill card in Seeker? Eye of Truth. You know, like this could become pretty insane. And
or just the Promise of Power without the curse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, this is really interesting. And as we'll see later on, we get a lot more interesting tarot cards too.
Yeah, so you can basically load your deck full of tarot and use them as wild icons and get some nice boosts at the start by drawing them, playing them for free, and because you play everything simultaneously, you can choose the order, so you can place the Moon Pendant 2 down, then play a lot of tarot. If you with Safina happen to draw like 3 or 4 tarot opening hand, plus the Moon Pendant and maybe Anna Caslow, so you could be just enormously buffed right at the start of the scenario.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Trying to build a deck around that archetype.
Yeah, it's also just like the perfect resource cost, and it doesn't cost too much experience too, so like you can reasonably build around it too, which is cool. This is just a great card overall for this archetype. This is exactly what the tarot deck needed, I think, because like it covers the biggest weakness of the tarot cards, right? Which is when you draw them and you already have one in play, it's a dead card in your hand. But this covers that and turns it into an unexpected courage, which is just mwah.
Yeah, it's really chef's kiss card.
Great stuff here. So we're shown this, and then if you click here, we're shown I don't know why FFG does this thing with their images. I hate it. Anyone is watching, I hate it. I'm sure fans of this channel will probably hate it too. But we see the Nightgaunt Steed, which is an interesting story asset, which I'm assuming, it comes from Return to Before the Black Throne, which is that while you control this card, You may enter empty space as if it were a location. After you enter empty space, it takes a direct damage, and then when it leaves play, you remove it from the game and move to the nearest revealed location. So
and I'm thinking because this asset doesn't have a cost, so previously you just like walked around the stars before the Blacktron scenario. So I'm thinking this might be in play at the start of the scenario for each investigator. So you have this in play, or something triggers and you get this in play, but you can't play it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it also just helps you move around the map too, right? Which is like the biggest hindrance of that scenario, is that a lot of the times you just kind of lose because you can't get to the location that you need to get to fast enough because the maps just get so big. So this is a really interesting story asset. And who doesn't want to ride a Nightgaunt, right? Like, come on.
Like one of the most interesting rewards from the Guardians of the Abyss pack is the Nightgaunt whistle. So you can kind of like get your own personal Nightgaunt to ride around.
There we go. That's the plan, right? Is you go through Circle Undone, and then you take that little side quest, you get the Nightgaunt whistle, and then you go into Before the Black Throne.
Yeah, and I think this feels like a fix to the scenario, because the scenario is so luck based. At least the second and third acts, when you have the bigger map and more locations to search for the next location to get more into the scenario. So with this, you can skip some locations and take some direct damage to the Nightgaunt Steed and keep going, so you don't get bogged down with bad luck if you happen to have to reveal each of those Cosmos locations in play to find the next one to get to the next map. So I think this is like a hot fix for that scenario to make it a bit less luck-driven.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you said, the biggest hindrance of that scenario is just not being able to get where you need to go fast enough, and this really just covers your ass in that respect. So really cool change. I'm excited to see what else we have going on here. So let's move forward here. I actually haven't read too much into this. We looked at the Moon Pendant, and then we see the Guardian Tarot card from the product fan earlier, which is the Star number 17. It is a 3-cost, 3-experience tarot slot asset that says each asset you control with health gets +1 health. Each asset you control with sanity gets +1 sanity. And then again, when the game begins, if this is in your hand, you can put it into play.
So, I think this is a Tommy card.
For sure.
So, you can just be a huge tank to soak every damage and horror from everybody. And with this, you can do it even more.
Yeah, I imagine this with, what is that, Enchanted Armor from the Innsmouth Conspiracy? Yeah. Holy.
Enchanted Armor, well, this doesn't combo with that much, because that has infinite health and infinite sanity, but you have to test for how much damage or horror is on it to take a willpower test. So this doesn't really affect that card.
Well, it doesn't affect that card, but it does affect the cards that you would play to kind of ensure that the Enchanted Armor doesn't kill you, which is good too. So, yeah, I mean, people in chat are pointing out cards like Agency Backup, Tetsuo. All good choices. Maybe not so much Tetsuo, but definitely like Beat Cop and Guard Dog. Yeah, for sure. So,
and also if you think about it, if you're playing like, Tommy with this and Peter Sylvester, you have even more horror soap that can be healed. And really, really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many cards that just giving, a boost to their health and sanity is just great. Like, all your allies, all your various story assets that you acquire. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many cards that this combos with, and having tarot cards that are more interesting than just boost a stat is also just nice to see too. So it's a little expensive if you have to play it out of your hand, but I think that the investigators that play this, I think, probably have the resources to spare. Like Tommy just gets so much money out of this card that it's worth it.
Yeah, and Carolyn, for example. Well,
now Carolyn's a good call too. Yep.
After folks get even more things to soak at, you can just heal those and get more resources. So
interesting. And then we have, let's see, one of the other tarot cards. We have the
number 5. Yeah, so the Hierophant number 5 is a 3-cost asset and costs 3 experience. So it's a tarot. You have 1 additional arcane slot. Your arcane slot can be used to hold cards that take up accessory slots and vice versa. And as a triggered ability when the game begins, if this is in your hand, you can put it into play. Takes up the tarot slot. So with this, you have even more slots to put tarot slots in, which is nice.
I think many of us are kind of ingrained in this style of deck building where you basically only have 2 arcane slots, and that's it. Like that's the way you build your deck, and you kind of work around those limitations. But this card kind of supersedes all those assumptions.
You have this one. Then you have 2 Pendants of the Moon. That's 3 tarot cards plus 2 from the arcane slots. Then you play Familiar Spirit, which gives you an arcane slot, which can be used to put a tarot card in. Then you have a Charisma to play on a Castle. That gives you another arcane tarot slot, and also pulls 1 tarot card from your deck to play. So you can have 5 tarot cards in play at the same time, which is insane.
Yeah, and people in chat are pointing out that cards like Relic Hunter are starting to become a lot more appealing with the Moon Pendant combo. So yeah, very interesting. This seems like one of the return to boxes that not only impacts a lot of the other cycles with the tarot cards that we'll get into later, but I mean these player cards are leagues away from a lot of the other player cards that we've seen in previous return to boxes, I think.
Yeah, now actually you can build quite interesting investigators with tarot builds, just if they're using the Pendants of the Moon or the Hierophant if they have the Mystic main class, so they can take this. So if you have the Hierophant, and then you can play other tarot cards in your arcane slots and not even play spell assets into those. So it brings up quite interesting archetypes from previous investigators.
Yeah, I mean this card is just stellar. I don't really know what else to say about it. Just first impressions, I'm really kind of blown away. This card seems really awesome to mess around with.
We still don't know what the Seeker one is. We have a blurry Spanish language image, but I think we are not going to that one. But I'm really hoping that's interesting because I want to make a Luke deck that focuses on tarots.
Well, if it's anything like the previous Seeker cards we've seen recently, I'm sure it'll be properly tuned. I'll just say that. Yeah,
and now that I'm thinking, it's probably 3 experience, so can't take it, but still.
I guess my only criticism of this card, though, is what do you use those arcane slots for?
Well, for tarot cards. If we get interesting neutral tarot cards, then you could take neutral tarot cards into those arcane slots. But we'll see.
We'll see. Because this card's really cool to combo around with, but I'm just where is the ceiling with this card? I guess is my question. So we'll have to wait and see.
And we have to see the whole menu when we see all the cards. So it's the amuse-bouche of the tarot cards.
Truly, yeah. All right, we're on to the story ally here. Is that Erynn? I don't even want to attempt that last name. Story assets. Let's see.
Erynn MacAoidh.
MacAoidh? Is that how you say that?
MacAoidh. I don't know.
I don't know. Why do they do this to us? I swear they just like they make these names to like just deliberately try to screw with people like us. But anyway, Erynn has a resource cost of 2. She has 2 will skill icons, which is nice. Has 2 health and 2 sanity. She's an ally witch, takes up the ally slot. Has 3 secrets and reads. You get +1 willpower and has a reaction that says, when you draw a non-weakness curse or power treachery, spend 1 secret and exhaust Erynn, and cancel that card's revelation effect. So, whoo, man, is this card good?
Yeah, and it's it has the. Is it the what scenario is that?
Is that Wages of Sin? I think that's Return to Wages of Sin.
Yeah. So I think you might get this ally in that scenario,
which would be,
and hopefully you could have it throughout the rest of this campaign, which would be really nice because there are a lot of curse and power treacheries in those encounter decks.
Yeah, I mean, this is sweet. It has good skill icons, which I'm always harping on about in cards. Comes with a decent amount of uses as well. It has a stat boost, which is always just nice if it runs out of charges as well. And I mean, the ability is just great. So
yeah, I think willpower especially is really good boosted stat in TCU because a lot of those treacheries that go into your threat area, like
those hexes, yeah.
Those, you need to test willpower to get rid of them, or have a bit exhausted.
I'll be curious to see how you attain her as an ally, because Wages of Sin is kind of notorious for being kind of a high difficulty, low reward scenario. And if you can get this amazing ally out of the deal, now that's kind of a better incentive for trying to do better in that scenario. I think this is a good change. I like to see stuff like that added in for sure.
I really like this ally because story asset allies are usually quite good, and this is no exception. And because TCU is notorious to being quite hard in specific scenarios, so this really helps you along the way in the later half of the campaign. So I'm really excited to see how you get this ally into your deck, and hopefully you can have this, because I think the article reads that you can have it, so you may even find an unexpected ally in the witch Erynn MacAoidh in certain scenarios. So that's interesting. In certain scenarios, so is maybe
she like pops in and out.
Get it as a reward, but she's a recurring ally character.
Yeah, I don't know. That's very cryptic way of putting it.
Because if you think about the campaign, the Wages of Sin, there's witches. Then you go to the mansion, there are no witches there, so it would be logical that Erynn wouldn't be there.
Yeah, that's true.
But then you go to the Unvisited Isle, there are witches. Then there is the Clutches of Chaos, where there are witches depending on which side to resolve in the last one. So maybe you get this ally in a couple of scenarios, but not like into your deck.
All right, so the article reads, as an added bonus, the Return to TCU expansion comes with a special deck of 22 full-sized tarot cards. So I'm assuming that means tarot-sized tarot cards, right? When it says full-sized tarot cards?
If you open it in the image viewer, the tarot cards are taller than the standard size cards.
Yeah, look at that.
So they are tarot size, and in the Spanish card 10, there is one tarot card next to the standard size cards, and it's way bigger.
Yeah, and we'll show that fan in a minute, so we'll get to that so you guys can see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is super cool.
So ready to hunt down some tarot sleeves, everybody?
Yeah. So how do these actually work? So according to the article, they have two effects. One is for when it's upright, and one for when it's reversed. Now, the cards provide passive effects for the entire scenario, and while the upright effects are always beneficial, the reversed effects often do the opposite. And it gives this card as an example. So, the Lovers, number 6, says that when the game begins, each investigator searches their deck for an ally asset and adds it to their hand and shuffles their deck. The opposite is when the game begins, each investigator searches their deck for an ally asset and removes it from the game and shuffles their deck. So what do you think about this particular tarot card, JP?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because if you have it the right side up, it's a really powerful effect at the start of the scenario. You get an ally, and you can have it in your hand, ready to go. You can plan your start by getting the ally into play and not have to waste time looking for that specific ally. And yeah, I really like it because I have a specific play style that I usually have a powerful ally and maybe a not so important ally in the deck, and I every time want to see that main ally show up as fast as possible. For example, now I'm playing with Stella, and because Stella revolves around the fail mechanic, you want to see Granny Orn as fast as possible. So this would guarantee me drawing that ally right from the start of the game to get it into play and be ready to fail some tests and use Granny Orn to manipulate the amount you fail by.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like the benefit of this tarot card seems very not overshadowed, but the benefit certainly outweighs the cost, I feel, of this tarot card. Because I feel like removing one ally asset is pretty minor. I've always felt this way about like cards like Through the Gates as well. Cards that remove cards from your deck never really seem to bother me, because the way I feel about it is that like they're basically, I just treat them like they're on the bottom of my deck and I would never see them anyway. So like, and maybe in Arkham that's not the most precise analogy, because there are investigators that can draw through their deck multiple times, but
yeah, most of us have like 2 copies of each ally in the deck just to get that ally into play faster. So if you lose one of those, there's still no like guarantee that you won't get that ally into play. You might as well draw it into your opening and either way, and then you don't have a dead card in your deck, basically.
Yeah. So
the downside is not that bad as the upside.
Let's go on to the next one here, which is the strength number. What is that, number 8? Yeah. It says when the game begins, each investigator may play an asset from their hand at a -2 cost. And the flip side of it is during the first round of the game, each investigator cannot play assets.
Okay, so this one is quite punishing on the downside. So most of us spend our like first turn or maybe even 2 turns to set up, and if you lose one of those turns, that slows you down quite considerably. So you can't play your magnifying glasses and spells and like sixth senses or stuff like that in the first turn. So what are you doing? You're just like gathering resources or opening up the map, or what will you do with those 3 actions if you can't use them to set up?
And Usually the first turn is very critical in a lot of scenarios too, because like Essex County comes into mind. If you don't get your assets into play and get going, like you're dead, quite literally dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, that first turn is really critical, and I know that Davi in chat says that the hindrance doesn't seem that bad, but I would argue that it's probably one of the worst, just because you really do spend your first couple of turns like setting up and making sure that you can get through the rest of the scenario. And if you draw an enemy in the first turn, you're kaput's, game over.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe if you're playing like Silas or that an investigator that has a lot of skill cards and doesn't need that many assets in play, maybe then this is not that big of a deal. But I think any mystic, they want their spells in play, they want their allies, their assets that boost willpower in play as fast as possible to get the most use out of them. But if you're like the first turn, if you're not doing any of that, what are you doing? You're not doing much, because you usually don't have a way to investigate or do anything else with the willpower. So that's quite tough.
yeah, and I feel like the benefit isn't that great, honestly. It's essentially gain 2 resources, right? Like essentially
it's basic. It's one free action to play an asset with -2 cost. Because you.
Oh, I didn't realize that you
play the asset.
Yeah, I didn't realize it gave you the action as well. Okay. Okay, that's a little better. Does that sway it for me? I don't know. It's interesting. It's certainly better that it gives you a free basically a free action and 2 resources. I don't know. I'm on the fence about this one. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, it's not the most interesting of these. It's maybe an okay tarot card, but for me the lovers is much more interesting.
Looks like we have the Empress number 3, which on its front side says during the first agility test, each investigator performs each round. They get +1 agility. And the reverse side is during the first agility test, each investigator performs each round. They get -1 agility. So this one's pretty bleh, pretty uninspiring to me.
If you're playing like dodgy investigator, like maybe Winnie or Ursula with
Rita.
With those investigators. Yeah, Rita. If you're playing those and not fighting at all, you're just evading everything and running around, then this is a good card on the upside. Each turn can maybe evade the enemy that just spawned on you, and then go out and start doing other stuff. But yeah, not very exciting.
It could be good in TCU or TFA as well, where you need to evade a lot of enemies.
TFA, yeah.
I was also thinking Dark Side of the Moon with the alarm tests, with treacheries like Lunar Patrol.
Yeah, definitely in scenarios where you need to test agility a lot, and usually as a first action to get rid of an enemy, to move, to get that enemy out.
It's also not bad in TCU with Union and Disillusion too, with the circle tests.
Oh yeah, and actually it's the first agility test each investigator performs each round, so it doesn't have to be the first action. It could be the treachery. Well, it's the turn, so it doesn't affect your mythos space. But this with track shoes. Each time you use your track shoes to move an extra movement, you get +1. So that's good.
Yeah, it's neat, but pretty minor. And the reverse side is pretty minor too.
Yeah. Usually, if you're a high agility investigator, -1 agility is not that bad. You usually have like I'm playing Stella now. I have usually a 6 agility with Agent Harper and the track shoes in play. So -1 to that is not that bad because most of the enemies in Smut have like a evade of 2 to 3.
Yeah,
So
I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah, there's the one deep one that has 4, but that's not a problem. I have a bunch of agility icons in the deck for those, so not a problem. But yeah, not that interesting as the others.
Well, we did miss one tarot card, which was the Fool, which feels fitting that we were foolish enough to miss the Fool.
Foolish of us. Yeah. Okay.
So the front face is each investigator not defeated during the game earns +2 experience, and the flip side is that each investigator defeated earns -2 experience. So kind of like less severe Karen's Obel, a little bit.
Or again, do you only get the negative if you get defeated, and you only get the positive if you don't get defeated. So that negative is not that bad if you don't get defeated.
True.
Because I don't know if there's any cost to have this play. So the +2 experience is you will survive most of the scenarios either way. So you will be getting +2 experience for just surviving the scenario. And if you get defeated, you get -2, which might be bad if it's on the up and on the downside. So yeah,
it's very snowbally. Yeah.
You either get a lot of benefit or
it
really
shits
bad
on you pretty much. Yeah.
Okay,
it's interesting. I like it. But as promised, I did manage to pull up the Spanish card fan that JP was talking about earlier. And as you can see, you can kind of see a bit of the border for the tarot cards. It looks like there's like some daggers or something in the corners with some ribbon around them, which is really cool. There's looks like 2.
The size that it is clearly bigger.
And then we see the Seeker tarot card here.
El Mundo.
Yeah, I can't, where is Vase to read all the Spanish for us? Vase. Free Vase. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and in this card fan you can also see that there's the well-connected level 3 there. And really hard to say what that does.
Somebody in chat is able to read it. Yes, excellent. Thank you, Penguins. All right, so El Mundo is, I'm assuming the world, yes. Right. It has a reaction ability that says if you have 8 or more cards in your hand, exhaust it and draw a card. And then it has the same reaction ability that that every other tarot card has.
I heard you like cards, so here's a card that you get more cards.
Harvey likes this card for sure.
Yeah.
So draws cards. I mean, great. Seeker needed more card draw, I'm sure.
If you need more card draw, he has a card to draw more cards.
Also combos with things like Dream Enhancing Serum and the Seleno fragments. You know, there's lots of stuff that you can do with that particular tarot card in Seeker for sure. And then Penguins exhaust or translated well connected for us. It says exhaust well connected. You get +1 skill for every 4 resources you have. And then you can spend 2 resources to ready it. Limit once per round. Ooh.
Okay.
That's
so
cool.
You can use it twice and it's cheaper or it gives more benefit from less resources. And then you can spend some resources to ready and use that second time. Okay, seems interesting.
Good.
I have used well connected a lot in different decks, like Skids has used it well, and of course Preston. So I think this is a natural upgrade for those. investigators.
I like it in Jenny too.
The
It
beer
seems.
Jesus turned to chat. Well, that's a cue for me to get another beer.
Man, I just finished mine too. Damn it. Dear Jesus, you came at such an inopportune time. No. What's your favorite aspect of Return to TCU? What are you most excited for? What piques your interest the most? Be curious to know. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that little stupid bell, too. That really helps the channel out a lot. And I will see you all next time.